I'm Muhammad Rizky Raihan Akbar Marsudi.
Hello, my name is Novadhania.
Hello, I'm Alda Silvana.
Hello, I'm Syifa Hapsari Zubaida.
Hello, I'm Andi athifah and we're from English Literature Department, Mulawarman University.
In this video, we are going to explain about the timeline that matters during the Elizabeth Age. But before we start with the timeline, what is the Elizabeth Age? The Elizabethan Age is the time period associated with reign of Queen Elizabeth I and is often considered to be the golden age in English history. In Elizabethan theatre, William Shakespeare, amongst others, composed and staged plays in a variety of settings that broke away from England's past style of plays. It was an age of expansion and exploration abroad, while at home, the Protestant Reformation was established and successfully defended against the Catholic power of the continent. Knowing that information, let's get right into the timeline. The first event happened in 1541. King Henry VIII passed a piece of legislation that made witchcraft a felony, punishable by death. In 1562, Henry's daughter, Queen Elizabeth I, passed a new law that said witchcraft would only be punishable by death if harm had been caused. If no physical harm was done to the alleged victim, then the accused only faced imprisonment. Christian has considered the witches an instrument of the devil, which were people who made up their own medicine and administered them with incantation to cure ills, make prediction, and generally be relied upon to put things right. The witch hunt and execution in France, Germany, and Scotland were far more deadly than in England. In Central Europe, witch hunts were undertaken with disturbing zealousness. The next event is when Florentine Ridolfi attempted to overthrow Queen Elizabeth I of England in 1570 until 1571 in favor of Mary Stuart, the Queen of Scots. He intended to secure the result by the murder of Elizabeth and a Spanish invasion of England. His plot was later exposed in April 1571 when his messenger Charles Bailey was arrested at Dover, Kent. Only Elizabeth IV Besant saved Mary Stuart from death at that time. Sir Thomas Ridolfi, messenger Charles Bailey, was arrested for carrying compromising letter and forced to reveal his identity using torture and prison informants such as William Harrell.
Okay, let's move on to 1586. This year when Anthony Babington tried to overthrow Elizabeth and put Mary, Queen of Scotland, on the throne again, namely where the Catholic conspired against Elizabeth. As previously explained, Mary became the focal point, intentionally or not, of Catholic plots against Elizabeth. It was his proven involvement in the Babington plot of 1586 that would lead to his downfall. The evidence present by Walsingham was not sufficient to convince Mary of plotting Elizabeth's death.
So, in 1587, Drake sailed to Cadiz and Corunna in Spain, where he destroyed 37 ships with which Spain was preparing to attack England. Drake's mission, as instructed by Elizabeth I, was to inspect the maritime preparations of the Spanish, interfere with their supplies, and launch an attack on their ships and ports. The naval expeditions, headed by Drake, consisted of 4 Royal Navy galleons with Drake commanding the Elizabeth Bonaventure. In order for the attack to be executed as planned, the details of the surprise raid were top secret. However, an important reason why the British were able to defeat the Armada was because the wind was blowing the Spanish ships north. Mary Queen was executed by beheading on 8 February 1587 by Queen Elizabeth I, because found to be involved in the plot to assassinate Queen Elizabeth I. In 1588, Drake was Vice Admiral of the English fleet under Lord Howard of Effingham, the fleet which defeated the Spanish Armada. Drake's final voyage to the West Indies and South America was a bit of disaster. He failed to take the port of Las Palmas and also San Juan in Puerto Rico. He managed to survive a Spanish attack which saw a cannonball shoot through the cabin of his ships, but he died of dysentery in 1596. Francis Drake died at the end of January 1596 off the coast of Panama and his body was thrown overboard. In 1600, a group of merchants in London, led by Sir Thomas Smythe, petitioned Queen Elizabeth I to grant them a royal charter. This charter is a sign of permission so that they can trade with the countries of the world in the Eastern Hemisphere. Queen Elizabeth also gave them permissions by issuing a royal charter. Through this charter, on December 31, 1600, the British East India Company was officially established.
Sir Walter Raleigh, who was a hero to the original British colony of the New World era, deployed the army to fight against the Huguenots in France, and the first to introduce tobacco to the Europeans, was beheaded for treason on October 29, 1618, outside Westminster. He had been imprisoned about 3 times before by Elizabeth I and James I, one of whom had been in a bloody prison for 13 years. And there, Sir Raleigh attempted suicide and failed. Following his execution, it was believed that he often roams the London Tower Hall in a paling form, carrying his bloody head in his hand. He likes to show his form to the soldiers there. Not a few soldiers bothered until someone fainted. It contained a meeting of Gondomar and a Jesuit priest on November 20, 1620, who was disturbed by the appearance of Sir Walter asking British officers to divert the spread of popery.
Next is 63. The reign of Elizabeth I is known as Elizabethan era or the Golden Age of England. She was known that as Virgin Queen for being unmarried. Elizabeth's late years were marked by several problems in England, such as court failure, rapid reaction, and inflation. Elizabeth I died on 24 March 63 at Tremont Palace. In this period, various diversity was found, namely poetry and drama. Anyone who works in literature is highly appreciated by art constituents during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. Prose fiction is a type of work that appreciated in modern times. The first work, novella, was translated from Italian writers. The figures is Elizabeth period is number 1, John Lilly. The first work read was English prose fiction containing morals and attitude in form of stories. He gained success since published books entitled Ipsos of Anatomy of Wit, 1679, and Upers and His England, 1618. Next is Thomas Nace. He is a journalist and also a satirical screenwriter. Some of his works, The Hacker of the Rules of Crunch, The Scandals Perpetrated by Elite Society. His notable works are The Unfortunate Traveler and The Life of Jack Wilton. Next, Philip Sidney. His most famous work in the Arcadia, 1519. Arcadia is in the form of pastoral romance, which is a collection of tales and sonnets addressed of Lady Penelope Darus and Lady Rich. Romance is one of the type of literary works that is cited in this period, more following the consistent but still influenced by classical Greek literary works. Some of the most faithful of this period, with number 1 is Edmund Spenser. Spenser published a collection of this poem that became the beginning of the Elizabeth period. The collection of poems is called the Spenser Calendar. This is a series of stories about preachers. This collection of poems contains one story about the priest with various topics in it, such as praise for Queen Elizabeth. Next is Thomas Shakespeare. He is famous for his work entitled The Mirror of Magisters, which depicts the life of the royals of that era. Next is Johnstone. Johnstone paired this wonderful combination of the lyric from scholars and spirits. Johnstone used the ability to think and reason verbally, which really didn't make sense. Therefore, the characteristics of Johnstone as his followers was called metaphysical or fantastic. Next is drama. Drama is literary works that period and was written in London, where drama not only treated religions and moral but also showed human life. There are three classes of venue spectators who come to the globe. Top class is sitting for kings, queens, and nobles. The second level, from top, is sitting for people who are in the upper middle class, such as business people and wealthy ordinary. The next level is for the lowly officials and farmers, and the last class is referred to as standing room only. The space is intended for working class people to watch the staging of the play directly facing the stage while standing. Notable playwrights are first is Christopher Marlowe in important prostitution and this history English literary works such as the tragic history of Dr. Faustus tells about the ambition of the doctor who won the master saints around the world. Next is William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare has great poet and dramatist in England, and also a great poet throughout the Masses works is still appreciated today. Some examples his work are Romeo and Juliet, The Comedy of Error, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Julius Caesar, and Hamlet, and others. And these are some of our sources in this video. So thank you for watching.